speakers up, bumping that old Kanye. My phone beep, it's my ex talking about, hey, I'll hit her back tomorrow like I'm straight.
I'm slowly starting to understand more and more what some of the older people that I've been around were talking about when they would reference the highs and lows of business ownership. They would say you should never get so high up that you lose touch with reality because business is never going to go that well all the time. But they would always be sure to tell me, never get so low on yourself that you lose inspiration because you are going to have some troubling times when running a business. But if you stay focused and you have a good product, you'll be all right. So we picked up a new car. It's a 1971 240Z. And based on everything that I was able to see when kind of going through the body and looking at everything, it seems like it's naturally the 920 Safari Gold, which is one of my favorite colors on the Z cars. And I'm really excited to kind of see what we need, put together a little parts list and see what all it's going to take to get this car back on the road. After we pulled all of the parts and the boxes from this guy's storage and got it back to the house, I was digging through everything just trying to see what we had and what we needed. And it seems like I found everything on this car except for the wiring harness. So that's something that bothers me a bit because depending on the month that the car was made and whatever's on the car, you kind of have to figure out exactly what wiring harness is right so that way everything plugs up correctly. And parts for these cars are getting harder and harder to find, so I'm never excited about having to source something, especially electronics. So the other day, we were fortunate enough to film at the Adidas Energy Mode event. And this was an event that they were using to kick off the World Cup, but also use the hype of that to release a new cleat. And in addition to that, they had performances from Rich the Kid, and they had a really cool graffiti artist, Saber, in there, spraying on some, soccer balls and cleats, and he was like customizing people's t-shirts and just kind of showcasing a lot of his artwork, which was really amazing to see in real life just to watch, an artist go to work. But I won't tell you any more about it. Just check out this clip.
Cause I can, you still wishing you still wanna. I do it for the winter, you still do it for the summer. I got wave. I got wave. Damn right. You can catch me in the Lamb, hopping out the best dress. I ain't gotta say a word, I know you with the finesse. I got wave. I got wave. I body. I come through like street sweepers just too.
So the last 6 weeks have been nothing short of, for lack of a better phrase, the emotional roller coaster that we refer to as business ownership. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so I was able to find a new home for one of my builds. I'm always excited when I can do that. And I've been booking some pretty cool clients to curate content for. But even with the money coming in and things going well, I think the high point for me was getting my personal car back on the road, which, if you don't know, is a 1973 240Z. So within 48 hours of me having this car on the road, it was damaged twice. I was early one morning on a Saturday, just kind of test driving, shaking the car down, seeing what it needed, seeing how I wanted to maybe change some settings, dial some stuff in a little different. And I was driving behind one of those trucks, the ones that carry more stuff than they should be occupying in one truck bed. And I saw it coming, but it was this little piece of metal, maybe like fist size, flies off the back of the truck. I had pretty good reaction time because it could have been my windshield. So I grabbed the car and I swerved right. And man, I heard this atrocious noise. Just boom, like hits my car. I pull over immediately just to, see where it hit. And lucky for me, it wasn't my windshield. And lucky for me, nobody was next to me and everybody was safe. I guess I'm everybody. But it made this nasty crease on the front of my driver's side fender right in front of the fender mirror, right where the fender meets the little, housing for the headlight on the driver's side. And I mean, just to work on something that long and then have it be damaged by something that somebody was doing that was so irresponsible, I was really upset, but I quickly got over it. I guess that was kind of like the break-in period for my car, that now I'm at the point where I'm no longer babying it and I'm like, all right, let's drive this thing. So the very next day, one of my friends hits me up to go help him out with a shoot up in PV. So I'm flying through PV and, we're up probably really close to like the Cove. And I must have forgot how bad the roads are because my car's going, up and down the hills, you know how they go. And I guess this has to be my low, because when I got to the bottom of the hill, the back of the car kind of sagged down a little, and I have really wide wheels on the back with my fender flares. And it must have gone down with such force that usually the fender flare just flex a little bit, but no, not this time. This thing cracked, so I'm actually currently missing a chunk out of my driver's side fender flare. So after hours and hours of digging through parts and trying to get everything organized that goes along with the build car, I was actually fortunate enough to find the wiring harness that I thought was nowhere to be found. So that was a huge relief for me, that I don't have to try to figure out exactly which wiring harness goes with the car, get on the phone, try to make some calls and source it. So that for me, was a huge help. But I guess the only thing that's left to do now is get back in the office, figure out exactly what I'm gonna need to get this car back on the road. And until then, go build something.
In the coupe, just driving around LA. With my speakers up, bumping that old Kanye. My phone beep, it's my ex talking about, hey, I'll hit her back tomorrow like I'm straight.
Hey, I'm Jared Michael from Only the Locals, and if you have a question about your builds, our builds, or anything else, all you have to do is slide in our DMs, and we'll answer it as fast as possible on an episode of The Box.